that could be easily like 20 grand, 25 grand, depending on what's broken internally and the damages there. It sounds like it's pretty serious. We'd highly recommend you bring it back to us. He said, yeah, I completely agree. Hey folks, welcome back to another vlog. Appreciate you guys watching. We are going to talk about some of those certified Hummer mechanics out there, or certified diesel shops that are out there. Ran into potentially a very expensive problem with this vehicle right here. What happened was this customer does a lot of traveling across the country with a big brooder trailer. He's camping in remote areas around the country, Canada, Alaska, puts a lot of miles on his Duramax converted truck, and ran into a problem in Las Vegas. He was driving back home to San Diego, and the truck developed a really bad knock. So what happened was he pulled into a diesel shop, did some Yelp reviews on it, certified diesel mechanic there, and started looking at it, and turned out that the shop was telling him that the engine was bad. So let's go ahead and pop this thing open. We can talk more about kind of what happened and then what happened after we got through some tests. So customer ended up calling us and said, hey, I developed this problem and this is where I'm at. I brought it in this diesel shop. We're like, great, thanks for calling us. We definitely want to be a part of the repair process as much as possible, even if it's via phone and helping out the other techs that are working on this truck. We definitely have a lot of man hours in this buildup, so we know it very well, as we do with all of our conversions. So we got on the phone with the tech and said, okay, so started quizzing them, asking them specific questions that we knew that a good shop would know the right answers and would actually perform various tests. Sounds like the bottom end's gone out, maybe a broken crank or something like that, which is what they were telling us it was. And so went through all the various tests, asked them to perform a bunch of tests. They went back, came back to us and said, yes, we performed all that. It's still there. And I was like, okay. It does sound like the bottom end, you got some issues on the bottom end, possibly a broken crank. So we called up the customer and said, hey, it sounds like it's pretty serious. We'd highly recommend you bring it back to us. He said, yeah, I completely agree. Go ahead and send your transport out there. So we shot Jason out there, picked up the truck, brought it back here. And before we started in, we wanted to verify that the tests were done properly and that we also are doing the correct repairs on it, because we don't want to go ripping into this truck, do a body off, pull the engine and rebuild this engine if it's not necessary, because that could be easily like 20 grand, 25 grand, depending on what's broken internally and the damages there. So we went through the same test that we asked the shop to do, and they said they performed it and still had that same problem, and sure enough, it was just a bad injector. So what we found was there was an injector that was stuck open, and so what happened is it's just dumping way too much fuel into the cylinder, and under normal condition you have so many grams of fuel that go into the cylinder, you have detonation, and that's it. Very specific amount of fuel. With too much fuel, you have this full like burn down the entire cylinder wall as that piston's going down. So that creates a really bad knock in the engine, and oftentimes sounds like an old 6.5 turbo diesel cold start in the morning. When you first fire it up, it gets really clanky, then that sound goes away and mellows out. But that's kind of what it sounded like, which is abnormal for a Duramax. It shouldn't sound like that at all. So what we did was very simply went through and turned off each injector, and we went to that injector and we turned off and shut off fuel supply to it through a computer system we have through GM. It actually removed the sound entirely. So we knew at that point that injector was bad and needed to be replaced. I think we may actually preemptively go through and replace all the injectors, but that's what the problem was, and solution, we just popped it out, put in a known good injector, and confirmed that it was good to go. So literally a $20,000 repair, $25,000 repair with this other shop. Brought it back out here, and it was one bad injector, literally $1,000. We sent the injector out for testing just to verify it, just to give us kind of peace of mind on top of knowing that that was a problem and replaced that in one injector. And it was verified that the injector was bad. Could have been very expensive, and fortunately it wasn't, because we were able to save him potentially $19,000 to $24,000 on a repair bill. Really important, guys, get a second opinion. If it doesn't sound right, shoot us a call. We'll be happy to go through and try to help you guys out, help you folks out with getting on the phone with your techs and see if we can help kind of administer some guidelines on the correct test or the correct measures to go and figuring out what the problem is. And we'll give you, our best guess. Obviously, it's difficult to kind of guess what the solution is over the phone. Oftentimes we can't do that without actually touching the truck, but it's always a good idea to get a second opinion, maybe pull it out, bring it over to another shop that also has good reviews, and see what they say as well, because it may not be as catastrophic as the customer says it was. And this isn't the first time that we've run into this, guys. We've seen it before. The customer just got a truck converted from us and brought it out there to Texas. He had it for, I think it was like 2 weeks, and it had this terrible noise, like clanking noise inside the engine, and then it just shut off, wouldn't run. Took it to a diesel shop. We said, okay, what are the problems? Because it's fully under warranty. And I said, okay, well, it's doing this, it's doing that. It needs a full engine rebuild, on and on. And we're like, it just doesn't sound right. So we sent our transport out, picked up the truck, brought it back out to San Diego, took a look at it. Within about 5 minutes, we found out that gasoline was put inside the fuel tank. So it was running on gasoline, trying to run on gasoline. Fortunately, it didn't do any damage to the engine, but that situation right there, if they went through and replaced, rebuilt the entire engine, you're talking 20, 25 grand or potentially more. And in reality, it was just, somebody screwed up and put gasoline inside the engine, which made it appear like the engine was shot. And in reality, it wasn't. Simple repair. We drained the fuel out, put in new fuel, drained all the fuel lines, got diesel in there, and shipped the truck home. So crisis averted again. But again, be careful about that. You can definitely get robbed out there. So make sure you get a second opinion on stuff, folks. But also, we got a cool truck inside I want to show you. So come on inside, let's take a look at this. All right, guys, so we have a really cool truck here. The owner / driver of this truck is in a wheelchair, so we made some cool accommodations for him with full air ride suspension down here. So the unique thing about this is he can literally hit a button and it drops down to a lower level, easily get into the truck, hit another button and it goes back up to stock ride height or over stock ride height, and then carry on. So a really cool feature about it. It's also from India. And so if in India, I think this is actually the only truck in India, but if on India, they actually drive on the wrong side of the car, the right-hand side, like the British people do. Sanderson knows about that, but check this out. This is pretty cool, guys. So this is right-hand drive. We got more coming up on the next episode. We'll show you some more pictures and video of the inside of that. Thanks for watching, folks. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you next week. The power and blah, blah, blah.
Warm up to this thing in my face right now. Get out of here. I gotta go to the mill. I got an itch right here.
As my lovely assistant back here.
Who, me? DeQuanda, my name is.
La Honda.
He used to drive my Honda.
Yeah, okay. I did that one.
I swear to God, this man does not value his life is what it comes down to. Stop it.
My life is very valued. What are you talking
No,
about?
I will kick you with my short
I
legs.
at least